this lesson, we will create bone objects for the creature's primary arms. Let's go ahead and bring our model back. Alright, from there again we'll go ahead and take a look at our texture. So take a look. We have these primary arms, but then we have these secondary arms that we'll want to rig as well. And what's exciting about that is we'll work with an expression to drive them, then we'll use a multiplier parameter to either turn them off or to increase or decrease their speed. So that will save us a bit of time when it comes time to animate these little arms here. Alright, let's go ahead and begin. We'll move over to our side view this time so we can go ahead and work on just building a chain out for the arm, and then we'll also go ahead and add a clavicle bone. So again, back over to our side view, we'll go ahead and grab our bone tools, and let's go ahead and create our chain. So there's the shoulder, the elbow, what would be the wrist, and then we'll add our nub. Alright, great. So from here, we can go ahead and take that route. Let's go ahead and go to wireframe mode so we can grab it. Let's go ahead and move this over to our model's left half. So we'll grab our move tool and we'll translate it over. Great. From here, we'll probably want to kind of reorient the chain. Just taking a close look. Before we do that, let's go ahead and make sure that this shoulder bone is in the right spot. Looks like it's a bit high, so we'll go ahead and just translate it down in the z-axis. Okay, that will work. Great, so from here, let's go ahead and grab our rotate gizmo, and let's go ahead and start to reorient this. We'll go ahead and move this over in our y-axis. Great. Let's now go ahead and rotate it forward in our z-axis. And now we'll want to grab the forearm, kind of rotate that back. So we would just want to kind of twist that around in the y-axis so it straightens up the chain. Now we have dropped the chain, so what we'll need to do is go ahead and grab our move gizmo. Let's also make sure it's set to local mode. We'll grab bone edit mode and we'll start to adjust the entire chain, just lifting it up a bit higher. So if we only have one bone object selected, we know that bone edit mode is not going to cause the child objects to be affected. But if we were to go ahead and double click on that object, notice we can grab the entire hierarchy that's contained underneath that object. So as we start to move this bone, it will also move the others. Alright, sweet. So I've just translated it up a bit higher. Great. I'd like to now go to the wrist just to make sure it's in the right spot. It looks pretty good. Okay, so I don't think we have to tweak that too much. Perhaps just translating it back in the y-axis will be just enough. Let's go ahead and grab the nub and we'll go ahead and just center that. So we'll drag it back in the y-axis, bring it up in the x. Alright, perfect. So from here we can go ahead and turn off bone edit mode and we can hide our model. Let's go back to layers, go ahead and hide the geometry. Alrighty, we can go ahead and start to rename this. So that's going to be BNL shoulder 01. Go ahead and copy this. The next one will be L forearm. And then the next one, that will be BNL wrist. Alright, let's go ahead and copy this so we can rename the nub. And that's going to be BE L wrist. Alright, sweet. So once we've managed to do that, Yes, we can go ahead and mirror this across. If you'd like to go to your clavicle first, you most certainly can. Let's go ahead and take care of that so we have all of our bone objects in place, and then we'll go ahead and work on mirroring this over. So what I'd like to do is move over to the front view. We don't need to bring the model back just yet. Let's go ahead and snap our bone object to the grid to keep it straight. Let's go ahead and press the S key. We'll go ahead and grab our bone tools. Let's go ahead and create our bone object so it points from the center towards the shoulder. Alright, we'll now go ahead and right click to exit bone mode. Let's go ahead and turn off snapping as well, just pressing the S key, and let's start to translate this forward. So with the root selected, we'll go ahead and start to just bring this forward in the Y and Z. Great. Let's go ahead and bring our model back. Okay, so what it looks like we can do here is we can go ahead and take this root just to make sure that we can eventually align our shoulder to the nub object here. We can go ahead and actually take the root of our clavicle and quick align that to our shoulder. Let's go ahead and press Shift A and click that shoulder bone object that will cause the root to be aligned only in position. So from here we can go ahead and take the x-axis and we can go ahead and kind of just drag that back, and what this will do is it will make sure that this is kind of on the same plane as the shoulder's pivot point. Alright, great. So now all we need to do is just make sure that we have placed the root in the right spot as we translate it over in the x-axis. That looks pretty good. If you need to, feel free to work with Bone Edit mode to make any modifications that would need to be made to this object's length, but I think that this is going to work out well. Now what I'd like to do is go ahead and take the nub object, turn on Bone Edit mode, and go ahead and press Shift A to, again, use Quick Align to align the position of the nub over to the shoulder. Alright, beautiful. So everything is aligned. Let's now go ahead and take our shoulder and we'll have that linked to our clavicle. Alright, sweet. So when we go ahead and grab the clavicle and we start to rotate that around, everything will follow. We can now go ahead and rename the clavicle bone. That's going to be BNL clavicle 01. Let's go ahead and copy that name to take care of the nub. Alright, sweet. We can now go ahead and grab both objects and add them to the envelope layer. If I were to go ahead and hide that, you could see, hey, the shoulder needs to be added too. Well, we could always go ahead and grab that shoulder bone, press Control page down. With the envelope layer still selected, we can now add it. I like to do that from time to time. Just go ahead and hide the layer first and then add the object, simply because that helps us know for sure that those objects have been added to the correct layer. Alright, sweet. So take a look. Everything is stored in its place. Alright, so what can we do at this point? Well, we can go ahead and make sure that we mirror this across. We can then link the clavicle bone objects to the thorax. We can go ahead and freeze our transformations at that point. We'll also want to make sure that the bone objects on the right side are part of that layer. When we clone an object with Control V after the object has been linked to a layer, we don't have to worry about adding those objects to the same layer. But when we mirror with our mirroring tool here, well, then that's when we need to go ahead and take those mirrored copies and add them to a layer. Alright, let's go ahead and take the clavicle here. We'll go ahead and grab our move gizmo. We'll make sure it's set to world mode. Let's go ahead and find the x-axis value. Let's go ahead and copy that. Alright, great. So from here, with the clavicle still selected, we'll press Control page down to grab its entire hierarchy. That should select the entire arm. Let's now choose our mirroring tool. Let's choose OK. Let's go ahead and find our mirrored object's root. We're going to select the clavicle. We'll go ahead and find our x value, paste. We're using the reciprocal, so that's going to be negative 0.15 on my end. All right, beautiful. Okay, so now we can go ahead and hide our model. We can go ahead and select both clavicle objects. We're going to have them linked over to the thorax. Now with them still selected, we'll press Control Page Down. We'll now Alt right click and choose Freeze Transform. Next, we can go ahead and select our envelope layer and go ahead and add them. Yes, we've already added one side, but with them still selected, it won't hurt to just go ahead and add them again. It's just a safety measure just to make sure that the opposite side gets added, so no worries. Okay, we should also go ahead and make sure that the right half gets renamed. So let's make sure we do that, and that's actually going to finish this lesson. So by the next lesson, we just have those smaller arms to add bones to, and then once we're finished with that, we can go ahead and essentially just double check things before we get into the skinning process. So we're making great progress already.